Hey, friends, welcome back to the Booze Free Babes podcast. I'm your host, Ellen Frazier, and today we have Amy Weitzel with us. Did I say that right, Amy? Did I say
It's Weitzel?
Weitzel. I knew it. I was going to mess it up right out the gate. So let's just get all of the that nervousness energy out of the way, right?
Certainly.
Okay. Amy Weitzel is a writer who is actually working on a memoir right now about her journey into sobriety. And so today she's going to share with us what that looked like and also the different modalities and pathways that she has explored along this journey and how that still rings true in her journey today. Amy, welcome to the Booze Free Babes podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Ellen. It's good to be here.
We are so glad to have you in studio with us today. And so we had a chance to connect before the podcast call, and that's not normally what I do because I like to save the juicy bits for this session. But I got to tell you, there's so much depth in the conversation that I had with Amy originally. I know that you've got so much valuable content to share with us today. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So let's get right into it. I want to just ask you the first question right out of the gate. What inspired you to begin a sober journey? And was there like a defining moment or anything that maybe clicked?
I was not happy drinking, and I also have drugs as part of my story. And I always felt like there was freedom for other people, and I wanted to experience that freedom. Alcohol didn't give me, drugs didn't give me, and I started to go to AA meetings and things like that, and saw other people that looked like they had this happy, joyous, and free thing going on. And I was like, I really do want that. I didn't take a straight, direct path, but I definitely feel like I'm well on my way to getting to a point where like I want to feel more comfortable and better in my existence and just be a happier person. Because I think a lot of my using was because I didn't feel self-love. And I think that's been part of rekindling that has been part of what has made me search so hard and to try different ways of experiencing that in my life, like focusing on intentionally adding self-love into my life. Like, what am I doing that's not loving for myself? And what can I do that is? So I have rehab as part of my story.
I'm just going to interject real quick because
certainly.
I think that this self-love topic is where it is at, and you are speaking my language, and I can't wait to dive deeper into that. Sorry,
Okay.
Didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to let you know I'm all for that.
Okay. I think everybody, has their own journey, and I respect that. Not everybody, some people, put it down and never pick it back up, and God bless them. I wasn't one of them, but I ended up going to rehab, and in rehab, I read voraciously because we didn't have access to the internet or television, and so I got into books, and I read the big book, and I read a book. I think it's called Second Stage Recovery, and it talked about neuroplasticity. And that really resonated with me from like an intellectual standpoint because I could wrap my head around, okay, so my brain is like programmed to like, I feel uncomfortable. I seek drugs or alcohol in order to feel better. Well, what can I do in order to change that pathway and choose something different now? And in the very first, 90 days that I was sober, for the second time, it was, I would say to myself when I would start to feel that desire to get out of the situation I was in or my own feelings or my own thoughts, I would say, I don't do that anymore. I don't go to those things anymore. And then it just kind of snowballed into, well, what do I do?
Oh, wow.
And okay. I read, I read a lot of different stuff. I'd read anything. That I've always been a reader since I was a small child. So I would read anything. And one of the things was reading your self affirmations every day. So I'm in rehab. I make these 5 cards and I read them to myself in the mirror every day. I didn't look at myself eye to eye in the mirror back then. I I didn't really like myself, and I didn't understand why, but I wanted to. So I would read, like, my favorite one is my fill my day with hope and face it with joy.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I did affirmations for a while, and then I started a gratitude list. And at first I didn't feel like I had anything to be grateful for. And I would hear people talk about their gratitude list, and I'd be like, well, I'm in rehab and my life's unmanageable and all these terrible things that I would think. And they were like, just start with, if you can't think of anything, I don't have a goiter on my neck. I'm grateful for that. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So I started writing in a journal 5 things I was grateful for every day, even if it was, simple, very, very simple, and maybe not, breaking the world records on gratitude, but it was something. And I think it's the focus of looking for things to be grateful for that helped to start to change my mind, my heart, to get me on a page of, not everything is bad and needs to be catastrophized, because that's what happens up here in this head. So
And you're
that
not
was,
alone in that, I promise.
yeah, I know, and I don't think so. That's why I want to tell people that, like, even if you feel like, oh my gosh, it's just desperate and all this stuff, don't believe everything your head tells you, because it's not all true. It's really just not. I mean, like, I can make up 10 stories about what terrible things could happen, but I don't know that they're true. So questioning those kinds of thoughts has been that's a later on down the road kind of activity. That's not going to be a straight out of the gate after 30 days sobriety thought process for most people. You
Right.
kind of gradually come to that understanding. I have found that regulating my central nervous system is key to keeping myself positive, in a grateful mindset, and able to receive guidance from God or from my inner self, whatever it might happen to be, on the way that I'm supposed to make decisions, or the way that I should make decisions, rather than looking outward at other people, comparing myself to them. Because nobody's got, we all have a different story. We all have different upbringings. We all have different understandings and awarenesses about the world. And that's the magic of all of us coming together, is that I might understand something in a completely different way than you do, but you can look at my way and I can look at your way, and we can say, oh, okay, that's good, that works for you. Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll try this, because there's a lot of different ways um, to live a happy, sober life. I always think that when I was younger and imagined not drinking or using drugs, I would say, I'm not going to have fun anymore. Life isn't going to be fun. And that's not true. That
We
is
have a
not
lot of
true.
fun.
I still have a lot of fun. I just have a different kind of fun now. And it feels more real.
And it doesn't
I like,
hurt the next day.
it doesn't hurt the next day. And you don't have to go, oh my gosh, what did I say? What did I do? I would feel like I had, like, shame messages tattooed all over my body sometimes. And, just not being kind to other people when maybe, it wasn't necessary to be mean. And being loud and obnoxious, sometimes that just isn't the way I wanted to be, but yet I would end up like that when I drank and used.
I just
Some
want
of
to
the
say that, like, you are so self-aware. I am just seeing how self-aware you are in this moment, right? And that's not something that happens in early sobriety.
No,
I'll just
ma'am. No,
point
ma'am.
that out, right? So I just want to stop for a second and just say you are freaking doing amazing just by the way that you're sharing this with us today. And I want to circle back to
Okay.
the nervous system topic, if we can bring that back around, because
Absolutely.
I think that is really huge in being
Hmm.
able to get out of the fight or flight.
Yes.
So,
Which is where I think the triggers lay.
yeah,
For a lot of people, not all of us had, shiny, happy people in our homes. Some of us came from houses where we had addiction, alcoholism, drugs, whatever, or maybe just anger that, didn't get manifested into addiction or whatever. But when you grow up in a household like that, your central nervous system is kind of always on alert. It's always looking for danger. It's always looking for the next bad thing to happen to protect yourself, because you're trying to protect yourself. And, you know, at first it was like, oh, well, this works. I'll just put this in my body and then I feel okay. It doesn't matter what happens. It's going to be all right. And now that being sober for a number of years, it's like I still would have that underlying anxiety or energy of fear.
Yeah.
And some people are able to get to a freedom level from doing the steps. And that's wonderful. I didn't feel that complete release. So I had to go a little deeper and found that there are practices that you can do that calm your central nervous system. Breath work was
Oh, that's a
very big
great
for
one.
me.
Yeah, that
I
is
I
huge.
I think I started with Wim Hof, which isn't for everybody because it's basically intentional, hyperventilation with breath holds. But it was kind of cool because I tried it. I saw a video for it, and I tried it, and I was like, I can hold my breath for a minute and a half. So there was kind of like this, like, I can do hard things thing going on. And I was like, okay. So I would do that. And then it's gradually evolved into different kinds of breath work. I like to do, if I'm really overstimulated, and in this day and age, with all the things that are going on, all the noise, if you're listening to the news or reading social media or any of those kinds of things, some of us are just wired oversensitive, and that can trigger us to that fight or flight stage, and we can get overwhelmed, and we have to bring ourselves back to base level so that we can operate in peace, because that's the best place to operate from, I have found in my life. So I do some very gentle breath work. Like after I get off of work, I've been performing for, a number of hours and interacting with various kinds of people. And when I get home, I have to bring myself back to center. And sometimes I'll bring Wim Hof in, and then I will do like really like box breathing, but with like 8 counts instead of 4, because a lot of people do 4 counts, 4 in, hold for 4, release for 4, and then hold for 4 again. And I like to do it with 8 just because I've been doing breath work for a minute, and that helps me a little bit better.
You just have to have a little bit more of an edge, and that's why you extend out the length of time for your box breath.
Well, so the from what I understand, the science behind it is the extended exhale is actually where you're getting a whole lot of relief. So if you're really, really keyed up to inhale for 4, hold for 6, and then release for 8, if the exhale is longer than the inhale, that's telling your central nervous system you're safe and you can be calm. You add a hum in there with the exhale, and you're actually going to get an even, and it doesn't work straight out of the gate. Like nobody's going to go from a panic attack to calm in one session. It took many, many months of regular work to be able to get to a place where like I can recognize, okay, I'm overstimulated. And I need to bring myself back to center. I need to stop distracting myself, because that's one of my things. I can try to distract myself from what's going on with, there's too much, but yet I reach for more,
Pushing
like
through.
more
It's like pushing
distraction.
through. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So now I'm kind of really just trying to be aware of what's going on in my body, what's going on in my brain. And it kind of lets me know, okay, you need to take a beat, you need to take a breath. And it doesn't take too terribly long anymore to get back to a place where I can rest, I can calm down, and then I can move and do something else or go back to whatever the task might be. Exercise is important. And I know that not everybody likes exercise, and I get that. When COVID started, I was 250 pounds,
Wow.
and I couldn't exercise. And
I just want to point out, because not everybody's going to see the video, and
right,
you don't have to share obviously what, your weight
right.
loss journey was, but I do want to point out that you are clearly not 250 pounds today.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I lost about 120 pounds altogether, and I think I've picked 20 back up. So about 100 pounds that I've lost and kept off.
That is
Um,
phenomenal. And I want to just stop right there and just say good for you, because I feel like that I don't want to gloss over that, right?
mhm.
That is a huge accomplishment and that is a huge milestone. And for those that know a little bit of my early journey, mine started with surgery and similarly, I lost 100 pounds afterwards. And so that is so important because there is a whole entire mindset thing that happens when your body does a dramatic shift or change like that. So I don't want to glass over that. I just want to say that I see you, I hear you, and I know that that was a difficult thing to do. And I just wanted to congratulate you on your weight loss journey too, because I know how difficult that is.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
Keep
you're
going.
good. You're good. So, that was kind of how, like, I had stayed sober from alcohol and drugs for a number of years, but I was, I had gained a large amount of weight in, I guess, 2014, 2015. I had gotten diagnosed with some medical conditions and had gained a lot of weight. And then in 2020, um, I, I can't remember what part of the year, what even triggered this, but I sat down and I was like, I still wasn't feeling good in my body. I wasn't feeling good about myself. And I didn't even, I guess I was still depressed, but I didn't want to. And I was like, I kind of looked at that and I said, and I prayed. It was a deep prayer. And I said, I want to get better. Because I didn't want to right out of the gate, right? But I was like, well, maybe if I want to, maybe that'll, and that literally, that prayer kind of like just started cascading all this stuff. Like I wanted to drink more water. Um, I was looking for ways to exercise that, because I didn't work for a while, or, not work at work. Of course, during, a lot of COVID stuff, we didn't go to work. Some of us didn't. And I would take walks when I would get overwhelmed by the news because I was watching CNN all the time. And,
Oh my
it was
gosh.
just,
Yeah.
yeah. So I would
Me
take
too.
walks, brief walks because I was very big and it would hurt. And then as I started to lose weight, I wanted to stop eating all the processed food that was my habit. I was a big fan of sitting down with a bag of Oreos and just eating like a whole line of them. Um, and I started to eat more whole foods. I started to learn how to cook for myself. That was in a more healthier way. I was drinking a lot more water, um, and I started to walk a little bit. And then I always thought I was like I wanted to be one of those gym rat people, but it just some about it just didn't jive with me. So I started listening to music and dancing, and I could do that. I
Fun.
could do that. I could put on, and I like EDM, okay? Like, and I will rave like it's 1990 in my own space, in my own private space, and no one's watching or whatever. But that would get my heart rate up. That would get my body moving. That would get the energy moving through. So I would do that even early on, before a whole lot of weight was gone, and I just kind of continued with that. And then last year, or late in 2023, early 2024, I started running. And I was
Good
like,
for you.
well, I
I
probably
love
lost
it
about
when somebody's
70.
chasing me.
I was a runner when I was younger. I played soccer and stuff. And my dad and I had run a 5K when I was like 15. And I was like, I don't know. I got it in my head. I was like, I'm going to run a 5K. And like my father's passed. And I was like, and it's just kind of going to be a look at me, dad kind of thing. And, so I started running and I had one of those apps and I would track it. And I didn't start with a whole lot out of the gate. You got to start slow with that kind of stuff. And I had lost about 75 pounds at this point. So it was a whole lot easier to move my body. And so I was just running and I ran the 5K July 13th last year. My cousin ran it with me
That's
and I was up
awesome.
in Maryland and that it was really fun to say I did it. I set this goal, even though it wasn't like I sat down and wrote it down and said I will write a 5K. It was just like it was there and I did it and I felt really good about it. And I moved back down here in November of last year, and I've been running here and there, but I haven't really like been doing an exercise regimen, but I have this desire to like get ripped, like just really, really be very strong physically. And I don't know how that's going to end up manifesting, but I definitely have the desire to do it. I saw this video of a woman at, I'm 50, and we all go through these changes, menopause, perimenopause, all those kinds of things.
That's a topic
And
for a show all into
yeah, right.
itself. It really is.
But I saw this video of this woman at 50 climbing up a rope, like just like pulling herself up, and I was like, that's badass.
That is so
I want to
badass.
do that, right? And but so exercise has definitely been key for me, even if it's not something that I do every day. Things that I do every day are
Give us the rundown. What are your
okay, so because
self-care tips daily?
I can still wake up and feel like this, like like kind of like a generalized fear, and but I thank the God of my understanding, and I say, thank you, God. I trust you, God. Please get into my head before I do. and
That's a
and I
beautiful
go out.
prayer.
I try to get outside as soon as possible, and I try to get away from screens. I try to stay away from screens until I've had a good amount of sunlight, because I think the sun has been vilified. I think that even diffuse light outside can be really good for our mental health and for our physical health. So I try to get outside as soon as possible, breathe fresh air. I read a couple of inspirational things that I like to read in the morning. I will write a gratitude list, not every day, but I did it for a whole year, every day for like 10 things. And that was really helpful. But now it's almost like I don't have to write them down anymore. Like I already thank God for, shelter and water and, my pets being healthy, me being healthy, my partner being healthy, my my family, people who love me, my jobs, my opportunities, and my talents and capabilities. I didn't have any kind of self-confidence for a long time. If you've ever gone through a period where you lost all your self-confidence, like building it back is a
Wild.
very powerful thing. Like I thought once they told me I had this and that, the doctors, and I don't, I just think that they don't necessarily understand the whole picture. Like I think they're so geared towards writing prescriptions that they may not take everything into account that might be at play. And I don't think they did that with me. And I don't think it was out of malice. I think it was out of ignorance. And, I think that even though they tried to help me, it wasn't for me to seek, or I guess it was for me to go through that. But now, medication isn't something that I rely on for, my health. I try to eat healthy. I eat whole food. I try to eat organic or non-GMO as much as possible. I get a lot of hydration. I do the breath work a couple times a day, more if necessary. If you need to,
If it's
you
hitting
do it
the
whenever
fan,
you have to.
let it rip, right?
Yeah, exactly. Meditation, meditation can be difficult for a lot of people, because that committee, when you turn everything off and you're just sitting there breathing, that committee starts meeting sometimes, and it starts telling you all the things you have to do, right? And then you're like, oh, why am I just sitting here? I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And it's like, that's when there's a lot of different meditation techniques that you can use mentally. Like I try to wrap the ruminating thoughts or panic kind of bearing thoughts in a bubble of water and let them rain. Um,
Ooh,
some
that's
people,
really cool.
and that one's worked for me, and that's not mine. I definitely got that from someone else, but that has worked for me. Some people use watching the thoughts like leaves flowing down a stream. Some people use rail cars, on a train, this is the kinds of thoughts. Oh, look at that. That's a ruminating thought about something that's not even in existence anymore, but I'm still playing that tape from back then. And I've used that before, but that didn't work as well. The water really works for me. Visualizing it in water.
That
And
is
just try to
fascinating.
get, and the calm breathing into your heart, has helped me a lot. They actually have a lot of different, meditations that are available free on Spotify or YouTube or whatever. And some of them have ads, whatever that is. But, you can still get to experience at least the premise behind the practice, so that maybe you can try it on your own. I try to listen to very different music than I used to. I used to listen to a lot of uh, like alternative kind of music from the 90s, and I love that music, but that was for them. And when I listen to it now and I listen to the lyrics, I'm like, this is all just about pain and anguish and anger, and that's just not where I want to be anymore. I want to cultivate a life about joy and about growth and about um, compassion for me and for others. And that's not where it is for me. So I listen to a lot of like classical and um, like bird song. Like I'll listen to a lot of different things, and then I do, if I want to move my body, I listen to EDM. Most of it doesn't have a lot of lyrics, and there's different vibes to it. But I found a couple DJs that are just like more
Refreshing.
melodic and yeah, you're positive than
Right.
other stuff. But yeah, so my wake up routine, I try to wake up slow, because I found that waking up to an alarm in the morning and just getting out of bed and running for work wasn't for me. Um and that's why it's kind of cool that I've come back to the restaurant business, because I work in the evening and I have the mornings to wake up slowly to myself. And I don't have a list of stuff that I have to get on right out of the gate. Get to work by 8:30, get under those fluorescent lights and start on the emails. That's not for me. I did that for a while, and I'm sure some people enjoy that work, and I can do that work, but it's not really something I enjoy. I like being around people, and now that it's kind of funny. Like people drink, at the restaurant where I work, and I don't have it, like it doesn't even enter into my head to drink, anymore. I had that when I was, probably like, if from early sobriety, probably all the way to like 5 years ago. I would look at people drinking wine and go, wow, I really, I still wish I could kind of do that. I don't, I don't want that at all anymore. It just doesn't, I don't want to ever get to that place where I hate my life the way I did. And I know that it's possible to live in a place where I don't hate my life. I love my life. And not every day is perfect. Of course, I go through emotions just like anybody else. We all go through them. I
That's
mean,
life,
right,
right?
exactly. And like, we're kind of hardwired with all these different feelings that we can have. But if I am aware of them and sit with them for a minute, then I can, like, it goes away and it doesn't hang on like the way it used to. Um, I got disappointed last week, and I sat down and I go, okay, I'm going to sit with it. I'm not going to distract myself. I'm not going to scroll. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just going to sit with it.
And that's got to
And
be the
sit.
hardest thing ever. I'm speaking from personal experience, sitting with it.
Yes, but I thought to myself, maybe it's easier if I start with something that's disappointing light rather than disappointing heavy, and practice working with that rather than waiting until something devastating happens and trying to sit with that, because it's practice like anything else. You got to practice something in order to become skilled with it. Nobody wakes up LeBron James. Okay. He has raw talent. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he didn't, jump out of the womb and just start dunking. So he had practiced and worked out his body and did all those things. So like, if we're trying to do something different, we have to start small, and repetitively. So I sat with that. I had baked a cake, and I dumped the cake all over the inside of the oven, and it was for a friend's birthday, and I was like, oh my goodness. And so it was small in the grand scheme of things. It was small, but it did have that disappointing element to it. So I sat with it, and I identified where I felt it on my body, and I just breathed through it, and then it did it. I mean, emotions technically only last for 90 seconds if we let them flow and don't hold on to them or fight them. That's when they stick around to like mess with our psyche. And so I said, okay, all right, well, I don't have enough ingredients to make the cake again. So I texted the friend and I said, you're getting a cake tomorrow. I'm sure somebody's gonna hook you up with plenty of sweet treats today, so you're gonna be all right. Or and so I did, and it was just fine. I made it the next day, and everything was just fine. But that first initial moment of I failed, and I'm going to disappoint someone else. I disappointed myself. I have a mess to clean up. All that was like in play, and I was like, okay, sit with it, let it be what it is, and then we can move into a different way of functioning with it. So,
I think that's an
um,
incredible example of
yeah,
how we can regulate in the moment. And that's probably the thing that I've picked up on the most in this conversation with you is that you definitely are the type of person that is working on that awareness so that you can catch those. I don't even want to call them triggers because it doesn't sound like when I say trigger, it's not trigger as in a trigger for a substance. It's more of what is that emotional imbalance that can shift your nervous system into fight or flight or whatever other state
right,
of
hmm,
survival mode,
right,
whatever that is for you. And then what you're able to do is identify that moment and hit it head on before it moves into full like freak out or whatever. And
right.
that is so cool to witness. I hope when we play this episode back that you can see it through the lens that I'm seeing it through. And I just love hearing about the work that you have done, Amy, and how you have approached this, especially the self-care component. Because you're right, it does take us slowing down and finding those elements in our day that we can connect and be calm. And I am one of those people that has to jump out of bed to be under the fluorescent lights. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
yeah.
and I think that they call it an alarm because it is alarming when it goes off,
It is.
right?
It
It's
really
very
is.
alarming. So
And
anytime
I
we can
used to grab my
ease into our
phone.
day is a little bit better.
Yeah. And I used to grab my phone, and 9 times out of 10 I would jump on social media. And to be honest, even when you cultivate your feed, okay, to be positive and uplifting, there is still stuff that you just don't need to concern yourself with first thing in the morning, or at least I didn't need to concern myself first thing in the morning with. I don't need to know what some politician halfway around the planet is doing when I wake up in the morning. It's just not necessary. I can't do anything about it. So like I've read a meme, and I don't know, I'm sure it came from someone writing a book or something like that, but it's if it doesn't bring you peace, profit, or progress, detach from it. Don't feed it your energy. And that has helped me so much because in the moment I'll be like, okay, I'm feeling edgy. Well, what am I doing right now that is bringing me out of uh out of myself, or doing something affecting me? And I'll be like, and that's a question I'll ask myself.
And what
Is
was
this
it? It was
bringing me
peace.
peace, progress, or profit?
Okay. I'm writing that
And
down.
and I need to detach that because I personally, I used to be a newsie. I would watch the news all the time. I would read the news all the time. COVID even exacerbated that for me. And I think for a lot of people, we were afraid. We were scared for our friends and family. We were afraid of ourselves getting sick. We were afraid that there was going to be this massive, extinction event because the news
The
is basically
hyperboil was real,
right. Well,
especially if you're
I mean,
watching it every day, which I was too.
and so was I. And you kind of get into this, fear wheel. And I recognized that in 2020, and I was like, I know that they have to like ratchet that stuff up in order to keep eyes on their programming, right? I mean, that's what they do. Certainly, I'm sure that there's an element of altruism of we want everybody to know what's going on and we want to protect people, but there's also an element of we get paid more when more eyes are on us. So we have to make everything bright lights, big city, So I was like, I'm going to turn that off. If I need to hear about it, I'm sure it will come into my awareness.
Can I share
And
a statistic with you that I learned yesterday?
certainly, certainly.
CNN uses the word breaking news about 420 times a day. So, I mean, how many minutes are in a day? How many
Right.
hours are in a day? How many seconds are in a minute? How many? So, if it's always breaking news every single day, like how hyper aware must we be? I heard that statistic yesterday and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that is toxic.
Exactly. Exactly. And I don't think that there's like I don't think they know what kind of effect that has on people's minds. I really don't. I don't think that if they did, they would sell it the way that they do. I mean, we had a hurricane here, or a fair hurricane coming
Right. Thank you.
not long ago,
Right.
right? They had it named and dumping 25 inches of rain on Charleston before it was even organized in the Caribbean.
It was
And
like several hundred miles
yes,
offshore, and
yes.
people were already starting to clear out the grocery stores and evacuate. It was ridiculous.
And my neighbor just she lived through Hugo and she's, an older woman and she was just beside herself and I said, "Why are we doing this to people? I mean, if there's a true danger, absolutely. But to manufacture almost more fear so that somebody's eyes are glued to your screen because you need money for your ads is just that's sick to me. That's just really sick. I'm all for people hearing, important information that they need to know, but some of the things that they seem to be obsessed about aren't necessary. And so I turned all that off. I even like stopped streaming stuff. Like um I like travel channel stuff. I like Chip and Joanna Gaines on, rehab and houses and stuff or cooking shows. I like Alaska wilderness people because they're just, I mean, I worked an 80-hour a week job in New York and left it all to build a homestead in Alaska. I'm like, wow, that's
Fascinating.
ballsy. That's ballsy,
Well,
so I watch stuff like that. Yeah, but to this day, I still try. I will literally try and look for different ways to continue my growth stuff. Like right now I'm into like fascia release techniques and somatic style yoga that I'm looking into trying to incorporate more in my life. There's simple fascia maneuvers that you can do because I know a lot. My aunt used to say, "Your cells remember." She was like a occupational therapist. She would say, "Your cells remember," and then other people say stuff like, "The body keeps the score."
right. That's a great book,
And
by the way.
I haven't read it, but I like even just hearing that title, I understand. Like, okay, some of the stuff that might exist in my field or exist in my body isn't happening today. It's like an echo from something that happened a long time ago, but my body's just stored it in my fascia in different places. So I'm like working on ways of releasing that or at least ceasing to hold it in my body from now on.
That is fascinating. And I think that we could do a whole episode just on somatics.
Mhm.
And I would love to actually, I'm going to propose this. How about we take the gratitude list challenge? Because I love the fact that you did a
Oh yeah.
gratitude list for a full year, every day for a year. Why don't we take that over to the Facebook group and see who might want to jump on board with a 30-day challenge?
That would be awesome. And we could even like everybody could put if they put, some of them a cut 3, 5, whatever on Facebook, then everybody could go, "Oh, wait, she's grateful for her plants. what if I'm grateful for my plants too? That's true. That's another one. So that would be like, it would be help other people to even change the way that they're looking
Process.
at their stuff.
Yeah,
Yes,
process their own gratitude. All right,
absolutely.
folks. Well, you heard it here. Amy's gonna head up the Facebook challenge. We're gonna do a gratitude list. So every day for the next 30 days, we are going to practice gratitude. And it's perfect timing because we're leading up to Thanksgiving.
Oh, yes, it is. Absolutely.
Perfect. All right, Amy, it has been such a pleasure chatting with you today. And I knew that we would have no problems with an organic conversation because we talked for so long before. And I was like, I just feel like you and I have a lot in common and that we could talk for hours.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
for the purpose of the episode, we're going to have to keep it a little bit shorter. But I
Sounds
love
good.
the fact that you're willing to take that flag for us over on the Facebook group and do this gratitude challenge for the next 30
Okay.
days. And I also want to point out that Amy, once you get a little bit further along with your book, we want to have you back on when you're ready to do your book launch so we can help you kick that tour off too. Is that a
That would be
deal?
amazing. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. All right, Amy, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you for
Thank you.
being in the Booze Free Babes community. We love you and we love your contribution. And where can we find you? That's the next thing. Where can we find you so we can keep an eye out for your book?
I have a Facebook. It's a personal one. I also do have a website, and I can certainly send you the address. I don't pay for it, so it's like a long kind of drawn out thing. It's on Wix, and it's called An Abundant Journey.
Beautiful.
Um, and I just want to say one thing to women who are out there who are early in sobriety or thinking about getting sober, maybe, experiencing challenges of life and doubting whether or not they can do it. I want to tell you, you can do it and that you're worth it. And if I can do it, you can do it. I promise you that. And if anybody does, want to talk on a personal level, I'll certainly provide my telephone number to you. And if they want to reach out and talk, for some ideas or whatever, like I'm happy to do that. But I'm not, like I said, I haven't finished the book yet. So I feel like it'd be a little preemptive to say, come find me here. I haven't finished it. So, but I look forward to the gratitude challenge, and we'll see where that goes.
We will absolutely see where that goes. And I'm so excited to follow you along on your book journey because I know how rewarding that must be and how that must feel. And so I'm just excited to see where that takes you and how far that goes. And we would love to support you on that journey too. So,
Thank you, ma'am.
all
Appreciate it.
right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to the Booze Free Babes podcast. And we will catch you guys next time. Thanks so much for joining us, Amy. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.
You too.